Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this special episode of the Digging Deep podcast, I interviewed a young lady who once lived in the United Arab Emirates. While she was living in the United Arab Emirates, she worked with a local family, that is an Arabic family, who brought her in to be a private tutor in the home. While in the home, she was maltreated psychologically, emotionally, not actually physically, but emotionally, psychologically. She was maltreated, and she felt that this kind of inhuman treatment is not necessary. She get to explain all the things that she went through while living in that place for almost 2 years, and how she managed to move out of that family and got a job somewhere. Currently, this young lady is living with a husband in Finland. Alongside, on this podcast, she has been able to explain the step-by-step process, the things that she actually did to move to Finland. So stick to the end of this interview and get to enjoy and learn from this podcast.
Hi,
Yes.
hi, Hality. You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
I want to appreciate the time for waiting and also for accepting my invitation. I'm really, really grateful. When your husband told me about it, I was really, really excited. And you are welcome to the
My
Digging Deep
pleasure.
podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, how has it been? How is life? How is everything?
Well, all I can say so far is that I'm grateful to God for the
Yeah,
progress, you know, um starting the journey of being away from home was not an easy one.
yeah.
And I'm really grateful to God for where I am presently and where I'm heading to, because definitely I know God
Mm,
has something more in store. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, let's start from UAE. How did you move to UAE? Where were you before, and how did you move to the United Arab Emirates?
So I'm actually from Cameroon. I lived in Cameroon throughout my lifetime. I had never traveled out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had just newly graduated from the university because I studied bachelor's in education back then in
Yeah,
school. And then, the journey of job hunting in Africa,
yeah, yeah.
that alone is a job on its own. So it wasn't really easy. I tried doing some petty jobs back then. I remember when
Mm-hmm.
I was in Cameroon, I used to do private teaching. I used to give private tutoring to kids around my
Yeah.
area. And then I equally, sometime in my life, I was into modeling and video shoots and things like that. But, while growing up, I was like, man, time is going. I'm a woman, and then I can't really see myself going far in whatever I'm doing here. And I'm a firstborn in the family, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that is, yeah, heavy on my shoulder. And I really want to be of a useful hand in my family. So
Yeah.
that's exactly that same period. I had some friends that were or that had newly moved to the United Arab Emirates, and
Okay.
we used to have conversations and talk. They were like, it's a good place to start. You can easily come to UAE. It's not very expensive and things like that.
Yeah.
So during that period, it just came exactly the moment where I had the thought of moving, where I
Okay.
had the thought of what next.
Hmm.
The exact same period. Like, I think just a couple of days or weeks apart.
Yeah.
And, you know, that same period, I had this friend of mine back then. She posted something on her status that they are in need of private teachers in the United Arab Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
And, they would offer you visa, um, Emirate ID, and then accommodation,
Yeah.
and
All of the stuff.
your
Yeah. All of
salary,
the benefits.
Exactly, exactly. So I gave it a second thought. I asked her questions about it, how it works, and she told me to gather in my certificates and
Yeah.
then record an introduction video, which I did. And by then I had not told my parents about it.
Okay.
I just kept it low key, and I was just gathering the information I needed. I went for passport size photo, I sent every details to her, and then she forwarded it to the agent that was in charge.
Yeah.
So I think shortly after that, I then I told my mom about it, that there is an opportunity that just set in, and it's to go to Dubai. Our African parents, when they hear any Arab country, oh, their heart is not at peace, because we
like
all
like
know.
the terrorist country. No one wants to go there.
Exactly. That mindset is within them. When they just hear an Arab country, their hearts start beating, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I remember there was one time I wanted to do this cabin crew training, and then there was this school, Air Morocco. They
Mm-hmm.
offered like a good package, which was like
Yeah.
less costly as compared to Ethiopia. So I
Mm.
told my dad about it. He was like, I'm not comfortable with any Arab country.
Wow. Wow.
So when that happened, I didn't tell my dad until the visa was out. The day the
Mm.
visa was out, then I now told my dad, okay, this is it. I had this opportunity to work in the United Arab Emirates, and then this is it. The visa is out, and we started talking, and then he got in touch with my uncle, and that my uncle at that time, he had a friend, a female friend that lived in Dubai. So she
Mm-hmm.
started telling us that, oh, I shouldn't try this thing. If I try live-in job, because it was actually supposed to be a live-in job, I had no idea. I didn't even know what a live-in job would be. So
Mm.
she was the one telling me sometimes you can get to these places, and skeptical about it and everything. But at the end of the day, we decided that, okay, because they had wanted to provide the visa, entry visa, and flight ticket. So we
Yeah.
decided that, okay, maybe it's safe for me to go in with my own flight ticket.
Mm.
So that's how. And the funny thing is, it was something that came abruptly, so no one
Mm-hmm.
was prepared for it, but somehow God
Yeah.
provided, and that's how I happened to travel to UAE. And when I moved to UAE, I spent a couple of days at a friend's. In fact, just my first day in UAE, I took one car lift. I think it was a Pakistani driver or a Bangladesh driver. I was going to
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi. I took this car lift. It was during that Corona time, and he
Okay.
said 500 dirhams to go to where I'm going to in Abu Dhabi, like right in Abu Dhabi city. So I took this
Five
car
hundred
lift.
dirham. That was
Yes,
super expensive.
see, I
You didn't know
said
the currency then.
this was my welcome package.
Wait,
I
wait, wait,
know.
what year are we talking about? You're talking about 2020 or
Yes,
after COVID?
2020 and ending 2020. I think I arrived Dubai on the 1st of December 2020.
Okay.
So it was actually the national day,
Mm.
because when I arrived, I remember I saw lots of decorations on the streets, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was during that period. And then, funny enough, we didn't even cross the border, because that season,
The
visitors were
border is
not
closed. I
allowed.
remember.
Exactly, the borders of Abu Dhabi, Dubai were shut down, so visitors were not allowed to get in. Only residents. And then, if you had to get in, the driver needs to be smart enough to know how to.
To
Exactly.
navigate the
So
way. Yeah.
exactly, we ended up not entering the borders. We didn't cross the border. So that's how I got in touch with one of those my friends that were in Sharjah, and then just at the border of Sharjah. I can't really remember the name of that area, but um, when we got there, he still charged me that 500 dirhams, and even added 70 dirhams.
Wow. You know, in Nigeria, we refer to such a situation like JJC. JJC means Johnny just come.
I'll tell
Okay, so
you.
when you arrive at the first time, and especially the guy just realized, okay, this person is new. Let me just take advantage. So
And
every JJC, they take advantage of every JJC.
do you know the fun fact? The fun fact is, it was a shared taxi. Like, there was
No
another
way.
person in the taxi with me. I wasn't
No
alone.
way.
Seriously, it was a
And it
shared
charged you
taxi.
only 500 Qatar
570.
dirham.
Yeah, it's
Oh
crazy. I
shit.
know. Yes. That was my welcome package, as I just said.
So, what do you think of agents? Okay, agents bringing their client to the UAE, and their client, by the time their client they arrive here, all the support that they needed is not there. What do you think about agents? Is it their responsibility for them to actually guide their clients to have a soft landing, just like you did? For you, you don't have any agent, like you have a friend, like I call that your friend as an agent, or if a sister. But is it the responsibility of them to to guide them and all of this so that they can have a soft landing? Is it the responsibility of the agent?
Yes, it is. It is important to, when you stand in the position of an agent, especially when you're collecting money from someone to offer a
Yeah.
specific service, it's important to guide them through. That it psychologically prepares them to what they are actually entering into.
Yeah.
Like than just leaving them clueless. And the beautiful thing is, you see, most people traveling to the UAE, they would have one or two people telling them about the realities in the UAE, but they won't listen, or they would
Yeah.
still want to come in and try by themselves. But that is what agents do not do. They sugarcoat it and they don't tell you plainly, okay, if you come to the UAE, these are the challenges you would face. This is where you would be living and things like that. And
Yeah.
once you come in, you would be psychologically prepared that, okay, this is what I'm going to face. This is how my life will be like in the next couple of days, in the next couple of months, until I get certain things figured out. But
Yeah.
it's rather unfortunate that the agents mostly think about their gains and anything they'll get from it, rather than giving people that psychological preparedness, which is very
Yeah.
important. I remember because when I finally came to the UAE, I got in contact with the agent. I stayed at the accommodation because it was like a whole agency where they get people from everywhere. In the accommodation, we had a caregiver. One of the ladies, she was coming from a francophone country, I think from Congo. She was a caregiver. There were cook, nanny, house help. I think there were just two teachers, I and another lady, that were coming in for private teaching. And no one really prepared us. No one told us what we would go and face there until we got there. We got to our various places of work. And you actually realize that once you get to your place of work, that is it. They have no business with you anymore.
Yeah.
Even when you're facing challenges there, and then you try to let them know to see if they can help you out, or they can nothing. They just cut you off. Either they cut you off, or they won't give you any specific information that will help you, because for them it's a business. So they won't do anything that would jeopardize their business and things like that until you get there. And the funny thing is, the first few weeks I got to the house where I was supposed to work, it was blissful. It was peaceful. It seemed to be a lovely family and things like that. And that's when you actually get to realize that the Arab people care a lot about the outward appearance, how they are being perceived by the world. Because even if you look at Dubai in general, when you come to the UAE as a foreigner, or when you hear about the UAE as a foreigner, or back then in your country, you would see all the flashiness, you would see the tall buildings, you would see the beautiful cars and everything, but the reality of the country is hidden.
Wow.
Not every information about UAE you will find. In fact, if you even post anything that compromises their image, you will be fined. We all know these things,
Yeah.
So they care a lot about their outward appearance. Even when you get into their houses, it's the same thing, and this is a little bit kind of confidential, but for the sake of transparency, or maybe one or few people may get to learn about this, especially for anyone that is anticipating to work in a house, or in a live-in position in the UAE. Exactly. The first few weeks when I just got there, because I was actually alone, I just met other workers there, one cleaner and a cook. One was an Ethiopian, and then the other one was an Asian as well. So the first week it was fine. Everything was going smoothly. There was food and everything because they said, okay, this is it. We are paying you this amount of money, but in compensation for that, we would be giving you accommodation, feeding, and then every other basic necessities that you would need so that you can be able to save and things like that. So the very first month, everything was fine until it started changing. The first time they went on a 3-day, I think 1 or 2 day trip.
Wait.
2 days. And
Yeah.
because they're always the ones telling the cook, okay, this is what you should cook today. So if they don't tell the cook what to cook, she's not gonna cook.
Okay.
So that's what happened the first 2 days. I was like, oh, what's happening here? And the funny thing is, I had just started working and I had not yet received my first salary. So
Okay.
it was like
So you mean like
1
you
month
say
plus.
after 1 month you haven't gotten your salary yet?
Yes, exactly. It was because I came in within like the middle of the month. So it
Okay.
was really month end,
Month
almost
end.
getting into the second month,
Mm-hmm.
almost getting into it was like 1 month and 1 month and a half. So, I was like, what's happening there? And that feeling of, hey, I remember back home, I was there, I was eating well, I was feeding. Then suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself in a position where, and I remember when I first traveled, I think I was 20 years old or 21, 20, between 20 to 21,
Yeah.
and I felt like, hey, this food that we eat anyhow in Africa, is this the food that they are doing us somehow like this?
So
you know,
you mean are you saying that if these people, like if they are away for a day or two or a week, you guys are not going to prepare food for what you guys are going to eat as the workers in the house?
exactly what was happening in the beginning until so when that happened the first time, when they came back, I then asked them that, okay, is it possible for me to cook in case there is no food in the house? They said yes, fine. Okay, so it kept on happening. Some days they would go, they won't cook and things like that. So I decided to get stuff from the house and cook. And funny enough, once I started doing that, they started hiding the food.
Whoa. These people, they have money. Why would they be hiding food?
I know, like it sounded crazy. They started hiding food stuff. I realized that when I go to the fridge, I open the fridge, there's nothing there. Like they had another storehouse. They went to keep the food stuff there and locked it. So when they want the cook to make something, they'll tell the cook, okay, cook this, and she'll go there and get it. She'll go collect the keys from there, get it, and then and then the funny thing is when they cook, they will carry all the food stuff to them. Then they'll be the one to, take out a portion for us and send back down the stairs.
Wow.
So that was how.
I've heard some quite a story that for those caregiver or for those people who works as nanny cooks in this Arab homes back in Dubai or any of the Arabs home, that I'm not sure, maybe you're going to confirm it now, that these people, especially those who are working as a cook or they are working as a cleaner or whatsoever, that when these workers, after working in this particular home, they take them to their friend's home or they take them to another family member's home to work. Like it happens like that. Does that happen in the place where you were working as a private teacher?
Well, where I was working, it's not even possible because the house was big and there were just two cleaners in the house. One was cooking, and then at some point, even one of the cleaners left. They took her back to her country because of one conflict that they had, personal conflict with the other nanny. So she, like, you would work from morning to evening.
Wow.
Seriously. But there used to be maybe a few times where, if in case there is a special occasion, and the funny thing is, you would work like that, no off. So 247, 1st to 31st, you're indoors. You know what they call, this was beyond mental prison. It was beyond, because when you have the physical prison, it becomes a mental prison. So it was both physical and mental prison at the same time. Imagine being in that position. And when it's time, let's say it's month end and you want to get some few groceries for yourself, it's not that the groceries, they're the ones paying. You're paying for your groceries, So when you want to get groceries for yourself, they will drive you to the supermarket and then drive you back.
Wow.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, when they take you there, they will start pressuring you fast, quickly, quickly, quickly. At some point, I was getting so pissed off because you have just one time in a month to go get something for yourself and you're being rushed. And when you're being rushed, you end up forgetting certain things. At the end of the day, I just stopped it. I just started ordering stuffs online. I got to know about Carrefour and then Noon, and then I started using these applications to order the things that I needed. Exactly. But with the little salary you're earning, how much can you order? And then I equally had a course. I was doing a course at that time, so I was struggling in between paying for my courses, and then I had to feed. So by the end of my contract, I was looking like a what they call a broomstick.
Oh my goodness! Now talking about you were doing a course. So what time did you add to actually be doing the course and you are working at the same time, because they don't allow you to go out? Was the course online, or you have a specific days you go out for?
Exactly. The course was online. And the funny thing is, for me to do this course, I had to trick these people. They are the kind of people that they won't like you to leave them. If you see most people who do live-in jobs, they don't like when you leave them to go get something better out there. They would rather you leave them and you are being sent back to your home country.
Wow.
You get it? That's how it mostly works. Once your contract is done with them, you are being sent. That's why you see most people doing these living jobs, they'll keep renewing, and then once they are done, they will go back to their home countries.
That's it.
Exactly. So I had to trick them into it. Definitely the other workers at home, they were not educated, so I was that difference was there. There were certain things that even if they want to do to me, they would be guided, they would be more careful on, they would do it cunningly. Exactly. Because they know that okay, this person is actually educated and is more exposed as compared to the other ones. Exactly. So they take advantage of your naiveness. Because actually, as a worker in the UAE, we all know that you are entitled to a day off, at least a day off in a month, or in a week. But we didn't get any of that, except if they are going for vacation and things like that, or they're going on the weekend. That's when we're just like furnitures in the house.
The UAE, there are labor laws that actually guides the workers.
Exactly.
The workers' rights. Did you guys at one point say, "Hey, boss, we are not following the labor law as per workers' rights"? Did you guys at one point discuss it with your boss or any time, or review it and see probably maybe they don't know? Because I wouldn't say they don't know, but let's just assume that they don't know.
They do.
Did you guys bring it up and said, "This is my right, I'm supposed to do this at this particular time"?
Do you know the shocker news? The shocker news is, it is after I had started working there and I was communicating with people out there, I didn't realize that I had never signed an employment contract with them.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my first job in the UAE. So I had no idea. I was so naive. I was just working. I just got in there and then we went. That was it. I had never signed an employment contract. So I had never even seen how an employment contract looked like or what it even looked like.
So how did you start in the first place? Because for every employee in the UAE has to sign an employment contract before they start working.
Who knows? Maybe they forged the signature. You can't tell. You can't tell.
You mean your employment contract was signed by someone else on your behalf?
Maybe because I didn't sign any and I didn't even get to see any. I was even unaware of the existence of any employment contract. I was unaware until I started talking with people out that, okay, that's when I went on the website. But that was like, I was far a year and plus gone into my contract. That's when I discovered about the UAE law, the labor law, especially I started reading about these things. And after that, when I discovered that, I got in touch with the agent and asked them that since I came here, I haven't signed an employment contract and I haven't seen the employment contract. What's up with that? It was just like, don't forget about it. It's not important. Focus on your job.
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
know it sounds crazy. Should I give you another shocker news?
Yeah.
The second, another shocker news is, you see the Emirates ID.
Yeah.
They were not only did they collect our passports, but even the Emirates ID, we're not even allowed to have it.
Wow. I was actually coming to that. If your employer have your passport with you, which is not supposed to be like, anyway, most employers have workers' passport. They have their reasons.
Yeah.
They tell you that for the passport not to get lost, or for because of fire, so they're keeping in a safe box in case of fire. All of this, they have their reasons.
Yeah, we all know why.
But talking about Emirates IDs has to be with the employee. How come you don't have it?
We didn't. Okay, when I got in, I went for my medicals and everything. Months passed, and I didn't get it. And I was just wondering, because I saw some people posting. I was like, I had a friend that was outside, so I started communicating with him. I haven't had any Emirates ID. He asked me, when did I go for my medicals? I told him. He told me it should be out by now, because this thing, maximum 2 weeks is out.
Yeah.
And until one day I needed to send money back home. That was the day they gave me the Emirates ID. And then they collected it back.
Whoa.
But you know what? I took the guts, I took the guts, and I told them that the next time I went for a transfer, because I needed to I needed to send money. Once I went for it, I kept it with me. The day I left it, I didn't say anything, because I had gone with one of the kids. So with their daughter, one of their eldest daughter, she drove me. So I didn't say anything. So a few days or a few weeks later, they asked me. I told them that I thought that Emirates ID is a personal document, and after all, they have our passport already. So I guess the Emirates ID, we are supposed to have it for ourselves. That first day, I think that was not even what happened. They actually asked for it. Yes, they asked for it. And guess what? The funny thing? The funny thing is, my boss was a police. So he was in a better position to know the law.
To know the law,
to know the rules more than anyone else.
Anyone.
Like, it sounds crazy. And they asked for it. And actually, it was the wife who asked for it. Then I told her that this is the only document that I have, And she was like, okay, you can keep it. Then I think a month later, they still asked for it. But guess what? While they were asking it, my heart, when someone is asking for you suddenly and your heart, they bubble inside. You see, I was just eating that rage. I just snubbed. And that was how I ended up keeping it. Then another time, they still talked about it again. And when they talked about it, they said, well, I shouldn't let the other workers be aware about it, because everyone that has ever worked in their house had the Emirates ID.
Wow.
So you see that
this is really strange. Like, honestly, I've never heard of this before. I know employers keeps employees' passport, but for Emirates ID, no way. I've never, because a lot of things are actually happen in the Gulf that we really do not know, except that's why you hear people say, please do not judge people if you don't really know what they are going through or whatsoever.
Exactly.
How was your relationship with you and your boss, the wife, the husband, family members? How was your relationship with them?
Well, nothing hostile, because it wasn't like I was a rebellious person. I was mainly rebellious when it comes to stuff like having my ID on that part. I had to insist on that one, because that's the only personal By the way, where are we going to? I wasn't going anywhere. I was mainly indoors 247,
Yeah.
So it wasn't generally I'm not a very open kind of person. So we can say I am somehow introvert, but not too, but when I want to be open to people, I can be talkative and everything. But if sometimes when you're not clicking with people, you can't just click, and sometimes you can't just pretend, especially when you're not being treated right, you can't just pretend. So it was mainly that boss and everything relationship. And but when it came to the kids were very lovely. They liked me so much. They would all the time they'll be calling my name every day, like every single moment. When they go and play and they don't see me, they'll be calling miss, 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 miss. So the relationship between the kids and I was really, really okay. Even though initially I was supposed to teach just 2 kids, but at the end of the day, I had all 6 kids on my neck, until the point where one of the student, who was not even my responsibility, but had been forcing him to come and study. He doesn't want to, but once in a while I would talk to him and talk to him, then he would come. So sometimes he would have poor results, and his parents started blaming me.
but that's not anyway.
His parents started blaming me.
That's how they don't feel, because they will feel that it is your responsibility to make sure that the child learns and everything. But at the end of the day, I think the parents, we still have a lot of role to play in our child's life. Like, it's a 50-50 thing. The teacher plays his own or our own role. The parents also play their own role. At least at the end of the day, we are modeling these kids into a better future, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to that, we've had cases in the Gulf whereby we've had a lot of cases in the Gulf whereby a lot of people have come out to say, we've seen it on social media, that I'm being harassed by my boss in some cases, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever heard that, or did that actually happen where you are, but maybe not to you, but to other of your colleagues that were working there, harassed by their boss, maybe physically or sexually? Has there been anything? Did you at any point heard anything of that, or seen anything? Or maybe you heard from other colleagues who are also working as a living nanny or private tutors?
Personally, I didn't experience that, and I didn't hear about that. Aside from, when it comes to abuse, there are different forms of abuse. There's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's mental abuse. In terms of physical abuse, it was mainly that constrainment. We didn't have an off, because abuse must not necessarily be, you must not hold someone on the neck.
On the neck,
them before, you abuse them. That was a sort of the kind of abuse that we received. Plus, the lack of appropriate care and things like that. Those were mainly the kind of abuse that we faced, and it could tell on us. Like, if I send you a picture of me, by the time I left that house, I was below 50 kgs.
Wow.
Right now I'm at 60, 63 plus, just barely how many years after I left. So it's really crazy.
The difference is really crazy. It's really crazy.
So I do believe that, yes, there are lots of people doing living jobs that go through all those things. I really strongly believe, because when you see them out there, they look lovely, they look, until you get into their homes. Before, definitely there are some of them that are really sweet. They are really nice. I've had a friend that worked with these people, and while during Ramadan, for example, they had a feast, a festival, food everywhere. We, on the other hand, during Ramadan, we were starving. We were starving, but his own situation was the opposite. They had lots of food. Their boss would cook and then call all the workers, the farm workers and everyone to come and eat and things like that. Ours was the complete opposite. So you see that
So that case, we have the good ones, and we also have the negative ones, the bad ones.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
you happen,
You know,
unfortunately,
and
you happen to be in the, not the so quite good one.
when they say the Arab people are kind-hearted, what I can say is they are mostly like that amongst themselves, you know,
Mm,
because of that spirit of competition, this one trying to
yeah.
be better than the other. Because I
Hmm.
remember when they used to have like parties in the house, they would prevent us from associating with like the workers that are coming from the other family members, you know,
Wow.
and they would try to keep that face.
Mm,
Sometimes they would even ask us to dress properly, and things like
mm.
that. Yeah. So
So there is always this thing of, give these positive vibes that everything is okay while we have friends
exactly,
and family members
exactly.
around.
And the thing that always shocks me about the UAE is that yes, someone works for you as a nanny, someone works for you as as a cleaner, but do you need to carry them out of your house with those dehumanizing uniforms? Each time
Yeah,
I see these
that is
things,
another
I
thing I have
feel
experienced.
it
I've
is
seen
so
several times.
dehumanizing, honestly.
Yeah, to the mall, to the different place, they are still wearing those clothes. But for me, I don't
Yeah,
think it's necessary. But
it
it's
absolutely is
crazy.
not necessary. You
Yeah,
can having your uniform at home, having them wear the uniform while cooking, while running around the house, it's fine. They are at
yeah.
home. They are within their comfort zone. But you won't want to take people out and they are still wearing the uniform.
Those
Like
uniforms,
what
yeah.
are you trying to prove? What are you
That's
trying
it.
to prove?
Separating
You know?
separating I don't know, separating that, okay, these people, these are lower class people, or these are my workers. And how do you even
Exactly.
feel? For me, how do you even feel you see somebody walking around with you on the mall, in places with uniform? Like, how does it make sense, right?
Honestly. And
So,
it's a normal thing. It's like a culture for them because
mm,
you won't find it in with one person, two people. Like a lot of them, sorry, a lot of
yeah.
them do these things. A lot of them, like countless number of them. So
Do you
yeah.
Will you advise anyone to move to the Gulf country? I'm using the Gulf country. I'm using because the Gulf country that I'm talking about, the GCC region. Will you advise anyone, based on your experience, would you advise anyone to move to the Gulf country to work as a live-in nanny?
No. I know my experience is just one out of millions, but
Yeah.
you see this live-in job, it is really not worth it.
Mm,
Except if you have yourself planned out. And
okay.
because I, before leaving my job, I had to trick them. Like I said, you need to be smart enough.
Mm,
You need to be, before doing my course, I needed to trick them. Before leaving the house, I needed to trick them. Just imagine all of these things. And the person who even replaced me at my place of work, she couldn't even take it, barely 6 months, and she was done. And the funny thing is, the same person that had posted this link telling me about the job, was the same person I told her about it. Okay, so this, ever since I came here, this is what I've been facing, this is what I've been going through, and everything with the kids. This is how it has been, feeding and everything. It was like, oh yeah, sure, I can manage. She got there 6 months, she was done.
sure.
Mind you, I spent 1 year, 8 months, if not 9 months in there, and before it could clock 2 years, I was like, nah, I really can't do it. And the funny thing, there was no promising gratuity. In fact, the people that worked there for years, they had nothing as gratuity. The only thing they
Did you,
get is maybe the
did you mean that when you
repatriation.
left? So when you left, you didn't get gratuity or whatsoever?
Gratuity what? Oh my goodness. Nothing. Nothing. Not even the ones that worked there before me. No one that worked in that house has ever gotten it. you know
That's terrible. That's
yes,
terrible.
those are the realities. So except if you have yourself planned out, and some people, in an attempt to even live, they end up being poisoned, they end up being killed. And I'm not saying this to scare people, but these are
Yeah,
realities. These are things
yeah,
that
yeah.
happen. These are things that we see happening in the Gulf country. For me, when we talk about, I've had many people who did like this nanny job, live-in job with foreigners. When we talk about foreigners, maybe with Europeans or Americans and things like that.
Westerners, yeah,
And
yeah.
yes, the salary is really good as compared to the ones that do the live-in jobs, because we all know the live-in jobs. How much do they pay you? Pay you for that 1,000 dirhams, 1,100 dirhams.
Wow.
Exactly. And because of 1,100 dirhams, your liberty, you have no liberty, you have no freedom, you have no off, you can't even breathe.
I used to have there was one of my colleague then back then when I was working in the UAE. There's one of my colleague then whose wife was working as a living nanny. Okay, I think it was working with is it European parents or European family or American family. Do you know that these people, anytime they are going on vacation, whether to the US or anyone, they take this lady along with them?
Should I give you a shocker news? When my people were going for vacation, we stayed at home. I said we were furnitures.
Yeah. And you were not allowed to go out as well. Like, okay, we are going out, do whatever you like, but make sure you come back this day.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Wow.
So if you want to move to the UAE to work for foreigners, the Westerners, yes, good and fine, go ahead. You would have your off. In fact, it will really, because they understand that they are in a foreign country and they respect the law. And generally, we all know that even if you're doing a cleaning job in the Western world, you won't, even if, let's say, there is some sort of racism, but you won't be treated that, the way you'll be treated in. This is like higher level of racism and segregation,
Should I say that probably there is no a committee or an institution that is actually monitoring
exactly
these people who are working as nanny to actually come and say, okay, let's check if they are treating you well or whatsoever. I don't think there is anything that is monitoring on all of them.
And sometimes even if you report this to the label, you can't win a case against a local.
That's true.
You can't win a case against a local. The highest thing you get is mutual settlement.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. You can't win, except maybe, I don't think
it's mutual settlement. That's the highest you can get.
Mutual settlement. Like you said, another thing I think from your own case or from the case of those people who were working there. So you are like, the locals, they did not employ you directly. From our conversation, you were employed by someone who is responsible to render services to all these people. So they will just contact somebody. We need somebody to work with us at the living nanny. So they pay those people, and those other people, they paid you. Is that how it was done, or the local paid you directly?
No, they paid me directly. I think okay, like when I was leaving, they said stuff like they paid for me to come to the UAE, something. I think
I think that happened.
Yeah, maybe they would pay like the money for the visa, like okay, for the person to the entry visa, 1 month visa, which they would give you, because first you need that. Maybe by then it was just 400 dirhams.
Yeah.
So just imagine, because of 400 dirhams plus, they will be doing this kind of thing to you.
On your visa, do you know who was the actual sponsor of your visa? Is it the local or it was the agency?
I think it was the local. I can't really tell, because on my visa, by the way, it was written cook. They couldn't even dare to put teacher, because if they had put something like that, they would be monitored, and they would be forced to open a bank account for me and things like that. But I didn't get on any of those things. They'll give the money cash at hand. So if they would dare to, and teaching, if they have to get the teacher visa, it's more expensive. Meanwhile, the nanny and cook visa is just barely 2,000 dirhams or so. So
Now, moving forward, how do you expect? What is the advice that you're going to give to people who are moving to the Gulf, like they are migrating? What kind of how do you advise them to move in terms of job and everything, do you advise them to come with a direct employment, or do you advise them to come into the country with a visit visa, take their time to look for a job that befit them, their status or their qualification and the rest of it? How do you advise them?
So the first thing anyone that is planning to move to a Gulf country should do is get informed. Like, see, we are in an information age, so there is no max of information you can get about a country before moving there. Get informed, learn about their laws, learn about their culture, and many of these things. Learn about these things so that you know where you're going to. Even if you want to go for a direct employment, get information about it. How does it work in that part of the world? Know where you're going to, know what you're coming in for, because it's really crazy that you would get to a place without any clue of what you're going there to do, and reality hits you.
And it becomes very difficult.
Exactly, when you're psychologically prepared for something, But there are certain jobs where, aside from live-in job, I would say if you have the opportunity to get a job, direct employment from your home country, go for it. And if you equally want to go to the country, then look for a job. As I did, I have a video on my YouTube channel which gives you an outline of certain things you can do to prepare yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And in the video, I mentioned the fact that you need to have money. Have money on you, because you never know.
Migration is not cheap. Somebody said to me, migration is not cheap.
Exactly.
It's expensive these days.
It's not cheap at all. Imagine if you're going for educational purpose, you need to have money. So why not go with money? Because you need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
That's that part. It's money. You need money for that. What if your visa gets expired? You need to renew. That's money. So I would say have some money on you. And the good thing is, I love the fact that the UAE has placed in a new law of having at least 3,000 dirhams as allowance when traveling to the UAE, because in as much as some people may feel that this is challenging, but it's really okay. It's really okay, because imagine with 3,000 dirhams you can pay for 2 months rent. Because if you're expecting to go and live in apartment,
talking about apartment, I think this is the areas where agents kind of trick people. They collect huge amount of money and tell them, I have an accommodation for you. And by the time they come, they are sleeping on the bunk
Welcome to bed space.
It's totally different from what they were expecting. This is where I remember you were talking about agent has a responsibility to give them a lot of information in terms of how they are going to live, what they said to meet when they arrive, and all of these things. So I think the agent per se, I think they have a lot of things to do on their own end. But we don't have good agents these days, do we?
Yeah.
Do we have good agents? Do you think we have good agents?
Well, I think there are still some good people out there that can be trusted, But nevertheless, in my country they say, na bad cocoa they spoil all pot. It takes just one bad seed for the rest of the if you take a rotten apple and place it in the back of good apples, everything will get soiled and everything will get spoiled. Exactly. So you would mostly hear about the bad deeds of the bad agents as compared to the good agents around. So I do believe that there are very good agents out there that are honest enough to give you everything, every detail, every information, and guide you through that journey. There are some people
how do you get to know a good agent? How do you source for a good agent? How do you know that this person is genuine?
So it's very simple. Are they willing to give you information about what you're going for? Because a good agent is one who doesn't only look at the gain he's getting from you or whatever amount of money you're bringing to him, but he's even going ahead of him, and he would lay it out to you, irrespective of if you decide to withdraw your offer from him or not. He will tell you plain blank, this is what you should expect. And that's all the agent can do for you, actually. aside from maybe because apply for visa, definitely he's going to apply for visa and everything, because most issues is about giving you details and information about what to expect in the UAE,
Mm-hmm.
that's all. But some of them will just hide it. I think it's really unnecessary for them to keep this information from people, because
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
make sense. It doesn't benefit them in any way. If
Yeah.
someone decides, if someone is really has really made their decision to travel to the UAE, no matter what you tell them, we all know this. We have people that are back home in Africa. When we tell them about the realities of UAE, they still want to come. So what makes you think that if you tell someone about the realities, what to expect and everything in the UAE, they would change their mind? Maybe some people would, but if someone who has really, if it's someone who has really made up their mind, they'll definitely come. So yeah.
Yeah.
That is it.
So I think so everything in overall, everything just based on the quality of information. When I mean quality of information, getting the right information, because a lot of people were actually fed with the wrong information. There is nothing wrong with bad information, but many people are being fed with the wrong information,
Wrong
which is what is actually killing a lot of them, especially Africans. What do you think that the challenges that women usually face when migrating in overall migration as overall? What are the challenges do you think they face when they arrive at a particular country? From your own experience, what do you think as a woman, what are the challenges that they usually face?
Well, as a woman, so far, let's say in the UAE, women are mostly put on the positive side. Like there's a lot of favoritism when it comes to women's rights and things like that in the UAE.
UAE, yeah.
Aside from the fact that, there'll always be some scrupulous people that would want to offer you a job or a service in exchange for kind. I don't want to go into details, but
I understand. Yeah.
I have actually had a
the kind that
situation
we
like
end
that.
up in that we end up on the other room, yeah.
Exactly. I've actually faced a situation like that when I just left this job, and at that time I was looking for a job. So there are a couple of people, men, that were coming around. Okay, I'll help you get a job, and then they'll start.
Giving all sort of stories. Yeah.
Exactly. They'll start.
Now you are in Finland. How did that happen? How did you manage to leave? You did a course which you had to tricked your boss doing that course. How did you manage to navigate? Because this is the point. Okay, this is the point. A lot of people can't do this in the midst of a toxic job, in the midst of a toxic relationship, in the midst of all of this. They are still stuck with it because they feel that I can't do this. I don't have the freedom. But somehow you find a way to do it. How did you do it? Can you just tell us how did you do it?
The Bible tells us that we are in the midst of wolves in sheep clothing, and the Bible makes several times tells us how we have to be smart. In this world where we are, you have to be extremely smart and brave to make your way through, because life won't always come with you easily, so you have to think out of the box. You have to think. If you don't think out of the box and you don't give yourself the opportunity to get something better, because mind you deserve it. That you see that better job, you deserve it. You see those off days, you deserve it. That paid vacation, you deserve it. First, you need to remind yourself and tell yourself that you deserve it, and you do not deserve to be treated the way you're being treated at your current place of work. So once you have that mindset, go out for it, And I always say this, one of the motivation why I actually had to go do this course is because the house where I was working, I had this worker, irrespective of all what she was going through in that house, she had to still renew. You get it? And lots of people find themselves in that sphere where they keep on renewing because they think that they won't get other opportunities. Of course you would. You just need to put, you have to put all the chances on your side. Because the job market is a very competitive market. such
Yeah.
that only the smartest ones, only, I won't say the smartest one, only the outstanding ones,
Outstanding ones. You must
make
be
their
smart
ways
and
through.
outstanding at the same time.
Exactly, exactly. So there are little tricks that you can learn here and there. And as I said earlier, we are in an information age. Go online, get information. If you don't know how to write a proper CV, I've never paid anyone for a CV. I've never paid anyone for a resume or cover letter. I've never paid any agent for a job, just by being inquisitive.
Yeah.
Before I want to apply for a job or before I even want to write a resume, I will go online. I will do research, research upon research upon research. Even my first, I had, once I left that house, my first ever interview, that was my first interview in the UAE. I got it,
Wow.
because just there are lots of information. Get every information that you need. Information, in this age, information is key. When they say knowledge is power,
It's
indeed,
power.
knowledge
Yeah.
is power.
Power.
Exactly. Get all the information you need. Equip yourself. Make sure that you have all the skills, because you cannot want you're presently. Imagine if I had left that house with just my experience and I am out there now. What next? And I want to continue in the teaching field. I didn't take any course or courses. What next? I'll be as frustrated as the many people out there in the job market. But you know what? Because of the courses I didn't just do one courses. Yes, definitely you can do one course and you're okay and good to go. I did 3 courses. I wasn't earning much, but I would still squeeze myself in such a way that, because I knew what I was looking after, I knew what was ahead of me. So I had to make that sacrifice for that moment, so that I can have something better in the future. And and once I left that job, I went to a bed space and people were like, oh, this online application, you should take a chill. You need to, lots of people, that energy that you usually have in the bed space, where you find yourself too matters. If you want to be successful, if you want to achieve things, find yourself amongst people that are goal oriented as well. If you find yourself amongst people that discourage you and things like that, you will not meet it. So find yourself with the right people. So that was it. And within a month, I met lots of people at the bed space. Within a month, I was in and out already. I got a new job.
Wow.
So just imagine, that is it. So aside from that, I worked as my first job. When I left that house, I worked as a teaching assistant. Then from there, I resigned again. And after a month plus, I got a job as an inclusion assistant. So by then, I had already met with David. So I actually came to the UAE through David, because we were married already before he moved to Finland. So we did apply for family reunion, which by the grace of God, it happened so quickly. When
Wow, that's so interesting to hear.
Exactly.
I'm so inspired by your story, because this is the same thing I'm telling a lot of people, those who are close to me. You cannot just live in one place and just be that comfortable. Okay,
Exactly.
it's okay. You can be in that place, you are comfortable, but you need to check the growth. Are you actually growing? Are you growing in terms of what you are learning and everything? It's fine for you to remain there for 10 years, 5 years, whatever, but check your growth. Is that what you really want? Are you happy there? So these are the stuff that we really need to consider. And like you said, information is the key. Information is very, very powerful.
Right.
Now,
Yeah. And
moving
you
forward,
just said
right now,
something. You
yeah,
just
go
said
ahead.
something. You said something key. That is getting out of your comfort zone. Even to do the slightest things in life, you need to get out of your comfort zone. Because sometimes, even when you're hungry, if you don't get up and go and cook food, you will still be there hungry.
Yeah.
You get it? So, even in our African community back then, you realize that most people are complacent. And when we carry that mindset out of Africa and bring it abroad, what happens is we are limited. If you see, the life abroad is so productive. People are busy.
Yeah.
People are busy. Back in Africa, we have enough time. Like we have lots of time.
Mm-hmm.
You can testify with me that once from the time you left home and came to UAE, your life has been it has been like you've had the most busiest time of your life ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
people are
time is running like
busy.
the way time is running
Exactly.
like off.
Exactly. And then in
You can.
addition to that, even in that position when you find yourself, are you able to get out of your, because taking those courses for those couple of months, I had to come out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I had to sacrifice something, you know. So we must be willing to get out of our comfort zone. We must be willing at some point in time to make some certain sacrifices for the
Mm.
benefit of the future. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I hope those who are watching this podcast right now, they are learning two or three things from this, because
I
the,
believe
the
so.
base of this, yeah, the base of this podcast is all about information. Get prepared. Don't. It's okay for you to have all your money whatsoever, but the information that you're going to get is very, very important.
It's key.
While you are migrating or you are going for that job or in anything that you're actually doing in life, I think information is very, very important. Now, for someone who is aspiring to travel to Finland, who is watching this podcast right now, what are the step by step do you think the person should start if the person hopes to travel to Finland in the next couple of maybe 5 months, 6 months, 7 months? How long do you think the process will take, and what are the steps this person should follow?
So for my husband, his procedure took something around 9 months because
Okay.
he's actually the main sponsor, and he had to go through the language school. You see, again, once more, the language comes in.
The language, yeah, the school itself,
He had to
education
go
itself.
through, exactly. He had to go through the language school, and then, but this company had already recruited them. For now, the company is not recruiting because they've reached their quota, and
Okay.
previously they were mostly working with Asians and Filipinos in particular, but these past years they had decided to start working with Africans and other nationalities. But for
Mm.
now, they have paused on everything. But I believe that there are equally some seasons. Right now, they don't have any seasonal jobs because there was less rainfall during this year. But
Yeah.
every year they usually have like sorry, seasonal
So,
jobs where they get people from abroad for farming work, like to pick berries and things like that.
yeah.
So they usually
Mm-hmm.
have those opportunities, and they equally have websites like Barona,
Mm.
Barona.fi. They equally have many websites that do recruit people from abroad. And
Okay.
aside from that, too, there is education. You can come in through education, through a degree,
Mm-hmm.
and for that part, for the a degree, it's the fee ranges around 7 to 9,000 or 10,000 euros, and
Mm-hmm.
the fee is usually paid all at once. But first, you need
Okay.
to gain admission. So
Okay.
whether you're coming through a job or you're coming through education, first you need to get either the employment letter or the admission. Once you've gotten that, you need to proceed to your visa
Yeah.
application,
Yeah.
exactly, which takes for like employment. For my husband, his was so fast. It took like barely 2 weeks and he got the approval, but yet he still had to wait till it was time. The employer told him, okay, now you can book your flight. So because there were
Okay.
stages and procedures,
Yeah.
for education, for example, you get your appointment. I think the most difficult thing when it comes to education is getting a VFS appointment. In fact, any of it is getting VFS appointment. If you're able to secure a VFS date, then you can go for your appointment, and the visa. I don't think I've ever heard a situation where someone was rejected or denied a Finland visa. They have one of the high acceptance rate, even when it comes to their
Wow.
visit visa. Yeah. So for anyone who is
So
planning
long you
to
follow the
visit there,
process and everything. Yeah.
exactly. Anyone who is
Yeah.
planning to visit the Schengen countries, maybe you should try Finland. They
I
have a
think I
high
think I
acceptance
think
rate.
I will need to bring up your husband again. Last time when I interviewed your husband regarding this, we didn't dive into it. I need to bring him back. Basically, he's going to tell us the step-by-step
More
process. So he's going to tell us
exactly.
two things, either through education or through work, how the person is going to go through it and how this. I think I need to
That's
plead
for
with him
sure.
to see
That's
how
for
he's going
sure.
to come online so we can do that. Now, from working in the UAE, being a private tutor, moving to a private school, from there now a content creator. Tell us how did you jump into that?
Well, actually, I've been into content creation for a while, but I've
Eh,
been, up and down, because
mm,
I have been mainly inspired to share the gospel because, well, I'm a
eh,
Christian and I so love anything that concerns God and things like that.
Jesus.
So, exactly. So on my TikTok account, that is Alison Takang, or
Yeah.
what was that? What's the name of that? Anyways, on my TikTok account, I mainly posted Christian content and
Mm.
words and things to inspire people and encourage people in their journey as Christians. It was just recently that after moving to Finland, I have this beautiful light.
Wow.
I have the beautiful background, beautiful atmosphere. One of the challenges I had when I was creating content in UAE is I didn't have enough space. I didn't have enough light.
Mm.
I was living in a partition, and in that
Yeah.
partition there is no window, so I
No,
had to buy
so
a
you
ring
don't have
light. I
proper
didn't
lighting.
exactly. I didn't have proper lighting, but now, in fact, the ring light the LED light I got from UAE. I'm not using it. I'll just sit in front, close to my window, and then shoot videos, and it's
Yeah.
perfect. You
Yeah.
know, exactly. So I've decided to like share more of my experience in the UAE, tips and advices for people who intend or plan to move to the UAE, which I
Yeah.
believe will be very helpful. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So once I'm able to get more details about Finland, most probably I'll be sharing
Yeah.
information on how
That would be
to
nice.
move to
That would be
Finland.
nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Because so far I've been in Katana for like almost 2 years now. I came in here 2022. Ever since I came here, a lot of people want to come and a lot of people are
Yeah.
still coming. And they are coming through
Route.
the wrong route. Like a lot of people are coming paying 4 million to travel to Qatar. Some are paying that huge amount to travel to the UAE. I was like, bro, you don't need to pay that money.
And that's
Get
enough
a
money for you
direct.
to move to a Western country if you're
Exactly.
informed.
That is the point. Some people, once they make up their mind, like you said, no matter what you're going to tell them, they want to go there.
Maybe,
They want to go there. So I really don't know.
there's one feeling I
Yeah.
always get when I see newbies coming into UAE. I always feel that sad feeling because I always think about my first experience in the UAE, and I try to relate, like, only if they knew what they were coming into, because the system in UAE is closing up, you know,
Mm.
it is closing up. And as a first timer in the UAE, it's really not easy. Honestly,
Yeah.
it is not easy. Definitely, people have different graces.
Mhm.
I was one of those people who got in and then I got a job. I equally had a friend who came in with a 1 month visa and she got a job. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, I know of people that have entered the UAE and then ended up being in overstay for a year, 2 years, and even up to now, they are still in overstay, you know. And it's
Why
been,
are those people in such a situation? How come? How can someone be in a country for 1 year without a job? How did that
well,
happen?
in UAE, once you start entering overstay, you've crossed the red line.
Uh,
It becomes so difficult for you to get something, or a
mhm.
job, or a legal job, you know,
Yeah.
with that kind of situation, because
Yeah.
the only thing you end up getting is black market. And how much will you be paid in the black market? So you just
Yeah.
have to manage whatever you're getting from there just for you to survive. And thinking of going back home when you just came into a new country, You've been there for a couple of months, a year now, or maybe a year plus. Just the thought of you going back home empty-handed is one of the reasons why some people just delete that idea.
So,
Exactly.
okay, let me digress into relationship, marriage a bit. I've lived in the UAE for quite some times. A lot of marriages that are still standing today are the marriages that were done back home. They came here, they came to the UAE, or they came to any of the Gulf countries. Marriages are still okay. And I've equally seen marriages that has been done, like couples met each other in the UAE, and they ended up they didn't even spend a year together. For you and David, you got married and your marriage is still on. What do you think is actually why? What is the scenario behind it? How come
Well,
they get to a foreign country, got married, and they didn't move on with the marriage? What do you think is happening?
Actually, when I was living in the UAE, I used to ask myself question that with all the stories you hear in UAE about dating and everything, like, is it even possible for someone to have a genuine relationship in the UAE? Until I met David, and I think one of the things that has, I won't say things, the main thing, or the main, that has held us together strong is the God factor. It's the God factor. We are both very two spiritual people. We love God, and we are doing everything possible to make God the foundation of our relationship. Because if we have to tell you our success story of how we went from the stage where we were to this stage, we've been together just for a year plus, but within this year plus, we've gone through lots of lots of scenarios, lots of stories, before we were able to get to this stage where we are. Just within the short period of time we were together, we've been broke, we've been jobless. So imagine in finding yourself in a situation like that with someone who does not have the fear of God and who does not have values. There are certain people who do not value relationship. There are certain people who do not value marriage and things like that. That are not equally committed. This kind of people, they easily give up on relationship, and that is it.
In essence, what you are saying is that for one to have a great relationship, one has to have a fear of God.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I've heard a lot of people say, relationship is UAE, it's just only here. Don't put yourself to.
Actually, not only in UAE, even as I moved to Finland, I will go online on TikTok and I will see people saying dating in Finland is like, and it gives us a fake reality, because these things are everywhere, whatever country that you find yourself in. Because even back home in Cameroon, in Nigeria, you can still feel, you can still drink, how do they call it, a pool of tears.
Yeah. But again, you will think that, I'm in a foreign country. That is the place that the relationship should be much more sweeter.
The fear of God. You yourself, you have to fear God. Have the fear of God in you, because imagine wanting to be with a perfect person when you are not working towards perfection. When I talk about perfection, we are not talking about, we know that no one is perfect, but being in a state where you can date. Ask yourself sometimes, can you date yourself?
Exactly. So we need to ask ourselves those questions. Exactly. That's true. I get that.
If you can live with yourself, if you can date yourself, I'm not like literally saying but you can take your own personality as an individual, and I believe that as human beings, we should always be working towards self-growth and development. Those are very important aspects. We should be able to evaluate ourselves all the time. What are the habits that I portray that are not healthy for this relationship? How can I work towards improving? And sometimes it takes time to change. It takes time to correct one's behavior, but is there that intentionality in within it? You know, is there that intentionality? Because I've seen a lot of people who would just say, "Oh, if he loves me, he will love me the way I am." Man,
Yeah.
you have a bad
That is,
character. you
that's really annoying, man. That you love me the way I. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, you're going to love me
know,
the way you are, but you're not going to remain the way you are. You just have to bring in some.
exactly. You know,
So
if you have bad
that
character, I beg this
yeah.
one, especially for the ladies. This is especially for the ladies because our sisters there. This is their anthem, national anthem.
Mm.
You know, if you have bad character, I am begging you for the name of God, change.
What is your advice for women who are not productive today? What do you think they should do to be productive in whatever they want to do? Because I believe very well that in order for you, because you just said something about when you got married, there were a lot of challenges that you and your husband were not having anything like you were like, but again, there is this thing that was inside of you. There is this thing you were productive. That was why David was there. You stood by her, you
Exactly.
stood by him, he stood by you. What do you think that ladies these days should do in terms of productivity? Like, how do you think they should come up and be productive?
You know, when it comes to women, presently I am actually facing challenges to the fact that I just moved in, and I when I think about the idea that I'll be at home doing not working, actually it frightens me because I've been used to that lifestyle of, okay, I'm doing something and I'm able to help the family. One thing I would say is, we women, God created us to be helpmates. He
Mm.
created us to be helpers. That is a very big responsibility that most people do not take into consideration,
Yeah.
because when you're called as a helpmate, I think it's one of the major responsibility. It doesn't only have to do with bearing children, grooming the
Mm.
children, but it equally has to do with the emotional support. It has to do with your ability to support the family in times of need, especially
Mm.
in this age and time where
Yeah.
the world is rapidly growing.
Yeah.
Life is becoming more and more challenging. To actually
Mm.
survive on one stream of income in a family, it's really difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you're planning to have multiple children in the
Yeah.
future. It's really challenging. So you must be able to step up your game, because
Mm.
sometimes there's this popular quote, what do you bring to the table?
To the
Though
table. Yeah.
sometimes it might be an offensive um
Cool.
quote, because there are actually women that bring a lot to the table. There are actually women that support a lot when it comes to their relationship, when it comes to their family. But nevertheless, we always have these ones that their value is based on their physical appearance.
Yeah. Mm. Mm.
you know,
Mm.
their value is based on their physical appearance. And I would say, if you take a close look to most of these ladies online that put a lot of value on their physical appearance, putting their breasts and bum bum out there, I would say most of them are seeking for validation.
Mm.
Most of them have within them something, a void that they are trying to fill in with such behavior and such character. you know,
Mm.
and they tend to do these things in a bid to fill in that void.
Yeah.
But that's not actually how it's supposed to be, because the only way we can actually feel fulfillment is when we've been able to find our purpose in life, and our purpose
Yeah.
is found in God. So
Mm.
for every woman that is out there, I advise you, get something doing, even if it's not let's say a job. If you're not the kind of person that can work, you're not the type of person that love that doesn't like the 3 to 5,
Yeah.
or 9 to 5 kind of
Sacrifice.
lifestyle. Get a little business that you can do to support your family. You never know. You never know where this life takes you to. You never
Mm.
know. There may be a season in your relationship with your partner where he would be unemployed for a season.
Mm.
Then how are you going to hold the family together? because it is mostly in those situations that you see lots of women tend to disrespect their husbands
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
he's at the lowest, when he's unable to provide,
Mm.
you know. So such mindsets should be eradicated, and especially also for the women that have something doing already. If you're with someone who is genuine about your relationship, please be genuine as well with them. Give them that support, give them that love that they need as well, because marriage is a it's a partnership, you
Mm.
know. It's a partnership, and it takes two to build it.
To build it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. What an episode. What an episode. I really appreciate you for your time. So last,
Yeah.
just before we go, what is your advice for anyone who is migrating to any part of the country in the world? I know you've given this advice during the conversation. Probably just need to refresh it again. What
Yeah.
is your last advice?
So generally, for anyone who is like planning to migrate, be ready to humble yourself. Like, because migrating will humble you. You see the kind of job you are not able to do back home. You know, the
Yeah.
good part about it is you see the cleaning job that is being poorly
Neglect.
paid back home. You know, if you're moving to a Western country, you will get it's paid. It's a well paid job. You know, so it's for you to have that mindset that where I am going to, I need to start from somewhere.
Okay.
Believe in humble beginnings.
Mm.
That's life abroad. You know, especially when you move to a country where you don't have a family member. Even if you have a family member, believe in humble beginnings. You know, the Rome was not built in a day. It took
Yeah.
time.
Good time.
So we all need to believe in humble beginning. Start somewhere. And once you start somewhere, there are a lot of people in here. Some are even students, but they are doing cleaning jobs. They go out to pick berries and things like that, you know, just to be able to make ends meet. And it will be so rewarding at the end of the day once they are done with their courses and everything, and then they end up getting that job that they had envisioned to have. You know,
Wow.
just imagine giving your success story. I was once a berry picker. I was once a cleaner. And if you see most people that are living abroad, they all started like that. Most
Exactly.
people, we all had a humble beginning.
I'm a testimony to that. I must say,
Exactly.
I haven't gotten the time to share my story. Probably, maybe you'll be the one to call me for an interview to share my story someday. I'm a testimony to that. Thank you
That
so
would be
much.
amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for the opportunity to share your story. And I'm so believe that a lot of people are going to learn from your story. Everything that you shared, a lot of people are going to learn. And thank you so much. I really appreciate, and I really appreciate your husband for giving you the opportunity to come to my platform to share the story. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I would say thank you to you for this opportunity to really be able to pour out my heart and, you know, say all these things. And it's going to be the first time, and I really wish and hope that lots of people will be scotched on this interview, and they will
Yeah.
learn more, and they will keep coming to your channel, on our channels, to keep learning
Yeah.
more and more. I must say kudos to you for this great job, and, you know, keep it up.
Thank you so
Hopefully,
much. And
by the grace
to
of
you
God,
as
is
well.
going to pay.
Yeah.
It will be
Thank you so much.
amazing.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you
day.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.